Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. The 3 territorial premiers are in Halifax today to attend the annual summer gathering of the premiers. They began their meetings by sitting down with Indigenous leaders. The scheduled topic was healthcare, but as Olivia Stefanovich reports, Indigenous leaders came with another message.
Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston is playing host this week at a big meeting. He's meeting with his provincial and territorial counterparts, but today a meeting with Indigenous leaders who had their own priorities, with little time to share them. Each Indigenous leader only allocated 10 minutes to speak.
Well, it doesn't send a great message, really. Let's be honest. If we're going to have a 10-minute conversation, what can we really talk about in 10 minutes? Not much.
The conversation took place behind closed doors and ended up lasting longer than expected. 3 hours instead of the 2.5 originally scheduled.
Honestly, this is the 3rd Council of the Federation meeting that I've attended, and I think that there was more of an understanding of the direction that we want to take these meetings in the future than there has been in the past 2 years.
National Indigenous leaders say they went into the meeting feeling disrespected, and even though no firm commitments were made, they left with a sense of optimism.
I do feel as though there is openness. Change takes time. It takes relationship building.
We were able to say very frank things and have an open conversation about where we need to go. And now a lot of it is on Doug Ford as the Premier who's hosting Council of Federation next year to work on improving the space.
The Premiers say they're willing to listen and make changes to hear more from Indigenous leaders.
Premiers are going to have a serious conversation with Indigenous leadership about how these meetings take place to make sure that we're evolving and representing as best as possible the leadership across Canada to be able to reach resolution on some of these really challenging issues.
Some of those issues include housing, affordability, and federal-provincial relations, topics expected to dominate the conversations between premiers over the next 2 days. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Halifax.
You just heard a few of the issues premiers are expected to discuss over the next couple of days. Some things like housing are likely on everyone's agenda, but there are some more northern topics that territorial premiers want to get on the table. Here are the premiers of Nunavut and the Northwest Territories on what they would like to talk about this week.
Just to share of the importance of Arctic security. As Northern Premiers, it's important, and I think it's of national interest to see the discussion happen. And we need to see nation-building projects, whether it's a Grays Bay project where it serves as dual purpose, that serves the Navy, but also unlocks the incredible wealth potential that we have as a territory. But just from the viewpoint of Northerners, it's so important to ensure that our voices are heard around these conversations at the Council of Federations.
Well, in the Northwest Territories, we have a consensus style of government, and so the priorities of our assembly are set by all of the members, all of the MLAs. And this term, we are focusing on healthcare, making sure that there's access to basic healthcare, emergency management, public safety, and of course housing like every other jurisdiction. And as always, the economy is a big issue. And so we are really focused on making strategic infrastructure investments and with support of the federal government and working with our provincial and territorial colleagues as well.
That was NWT Premier R.J. Simpson speaking about what he'd like to see on the agenda at the Premiers' meetings in Halifax this week. It's been 3 months since the coroner's inquest into the deaths of 4 Indigenous women at the Whitehorse shelter. Miranda Tisha Charlie, Cassandra Warville, Josephine Elizabeth Hager, and Darla Skookum died at the shelter in 2022 and 2023. The jury issued a list of recommendations, including some directed at the Yukon government. The government has released an update on how it's responding. It says it will implement recommendations before the end of October. The CBC's Virginie Anne has more.
So even before the inquest began, Premier Reince Pillay promised action. The update sent out on Friday talks about a plan, but doesn't yet commit to specifics. Stephen Doyle, Director of Social Supports, told CBC there's no additional budget to address recommendations. He says the government is looking at policies and training. That's because there was a common theme throughout the testimonies. the lack of clear policy or adequate staff training to ensure the safety of shelter guests who may be intoxicated. 8 recommendations came out of the emotional inquest. The jury said government representatives should meet with the communities and families impacted by the deaths within 2 months. Doyle says that has yet to happen. CBC spoke with one of Darla Skookum's sisters, Lauren O'Brien. She says there was too much anger after the inquest to meet with anyone. O'Brien says there's also many unanswered questions, including who should be held accountable for the deaths of the 4 women. Virginie Anne, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Nunavut now has its first prosecution team dedicated to sexual violence cases. Launched in April, the team oversees all sexual violence files in the territory. It's similar to other models in the Northwest Territories and Ontario. Samuel Watt explains how it works.
Institutional change in treating cases of sexual violence is what this team strives to do.
What we want to do is to really empower the victims and empower their ability to be involved in the file from the get-go.
The team is led by 4 prosecutors. They represent victims in court or assist other lawyers on the file, plus provide support for victims, including training with other agencies like the RCMP. Amoteach President Jasmine Redfern says that is a step in the right direction.
Often victims who come forwards, they're being given conflicting information. They're being sent to multiple different services and providers.
Getting those different providers together is important, says Nunavut MP Laurie Edlout, because prosecution is one thing, but healing for everybody affected by an incident is another.
I think that a huge part of what we all need to do is really uplift Inuit in the communities to help them to realize, to remember again that they can help each other.
Nunavut has the highest rates of sexual violence in the country. Philippe Plaude says he understands the challenge ahead and is asking people to have faith in them.
I can't change what people think about the past, but we can improve how things will happen in the future, and this is what we're doing and what we're committing for.
A commitment to help victims of sexual violence feel heard. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The ferry connecting Fort Simpson, NWT, and Wrigley isn't running, and it hasn't been for days. The ferry has broken down. It's been closed since Saturday morning, which cuts off those 2 communities from the territory's highway system. The Northwest Territories government says the ferry has major mechanical issues, and it might not be fixed until next weekend. Without a ferry, food and supplies can't easily get across the river. Fort Simpson's mayor says this is why he's pushing the territorial government to replace the ferry with a bridge.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed that Titan was destroyed.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain it.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
When we see Team Canada on the world stage, we're witnessing pure greatness. What we don't see is their struggle. We don't see Maggie McNeil navigating her anxiety, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander getting cut from his high school team, or Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete. What we don't see makes us who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable. The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is unbelievable.
The heart and soul of any city is best served on a plate.
Très bon, merci.
I have some women to tell you about. You don't know them, but you will.
Thank you for choosing Plan B.
Tell me what I need to do to save my family.
Please enter your date of travel.
I can't do this anymore.
If you could go back, change things, would you do it?
Two Yellowknife dads are calling for changes to how cyclists get around the NWT capital. They say the roads aren't safe for those traveling on bikes, and they want the city to do something about it. Rowan Fleary reports.
Longtime riders such as Adam Denley, who is the co-founder of the Shift bike program, says there are parts of the city that aren't safe if you're a cyclist. And he wants city council to do something about it.
We want it to be taken seriously, basically. Like right now, it seems to be that when a neighborhood or a road is designed, it's designed for cars, and if there is room left over, then there are accommodations put in for other types of road users. But that's not sufficient.
He's not alone. Ben Hendrickson was riding his bike home last month and was nearly hit by a driver who he says passed within a foot of him. And he doesn't understand why.
Yellowknife has the widest streets that I've ever seen, especially for a population of our size. And so we can really utilize that space in a completely different way in order to allow space for every type of transportation around the city.
Hendrickson was almost hit, but not everyone is as lucky. I spoke to Matt Greyeyes, and just last month, his son was nearly hit at Gitzel and Franklin Avenue. He's hoping the city makes improvements and implements a no right turn on red lights. Yellowknife's mayor says multiple people have reached out with the same request. She says a council meeting will be held later this month so residents can speak to council about these issues.
The one thing that council's talked about is creating a master transportation plan. And so what that would be taking a look at, cycling infrastructure, pedestrian infrastructure, cars, buses, to really look at it holistically. So how can we improve the design standards of a street?
It all comes down to money. As it is right now, the city is dealing with tight budgets, which makes coming up with new and existing plans challenging. The city says it will look at whether implementing a no right turn on red lights will be effective. Rowan Fleary, CBC News, Yellowknife.
People in Hay River have a new option for pet care. The Manning Veterinary Clinic in northern Alberta is now doing a monthly mobile clinic in the town. The clinic is based out of Manning, Alberta, which is just over 5 hours south of Hay River. Thania Lupachuk is with the vet clinic. She says they have a lot of great clients from the north, so the decision to offer services in Hay River was easy. The mobile clinic just wrapped up its first trip last week.
We kind of felt that vet care in the north is challenging enough just due to the vast differences between some of our communities up here. So given the geographical distance, it's often difficult for people to afford or manage or find the time to come down here. I mean, it's a long drive. In our minds, it was just an obvious choice to bring vet med up to you guys up there, and it will help ensure that pets and even the most remote communities up there will get the vet care and the help that they need and deserve. And even for folks like yourself in towns like Fort Smith, it's a lot easier to drive. And we already have so many amazing clients and patients up in Hay River and area, so it was a no-brainer for us.
For now, the Manning Vet Clinic is only offering house calls in Hay River. That's until they can find an affordable location to set up a clinic office. Lupachuk says out-of-town clients can meet at a gas station or another location like a hotel. The vet clinic's mobile services will cover wellness exams, vaccinations, and other non-surgical needs. Lupachuk says surgeries won't be available until they establish a physical space. Polar eggs are now available in 14 stores across the north, with plans to expand further. The beloved NWT egg brand has been absent from store shelves for nearly 2 years. Stores across the territory have slowly been restocking Polar eggs over the last few months. BC egg farmers Matt Vane and Jeff Bishops bought the Hay River business in January. They spent the past year preparing for the relaunch. Vane says it's a big accomplishment, and they're committed to ensuring everyone in the NWT can enjoy fresh eggs from Hay River. The next step for the company?
We are excited about reaching other opportunities in terms of school programs or culinary opportunities to work with chefs and teachers to add eggs to the diet. If we can help out in a charitable sense to say, hey, there's a lot of wholesome goodness in an egg, and we'd like to have that be experienced by everyone in the north. So if there's a way we can help out with an event or in a classroom setting or in a school breakfast club or however it might be, feel free to reach out and see if we can put something together.
Vane says they're encouraged by the support they've received. He says the eggs will return to even more northern communities over the coming months, and in Yellowknife, Polar eggs should return to store shelves by the end of August. The Alberta government is providing $2 million toward the replacement of a wartime-era bridge in northern Alberta. The municipal district of Lesser Slave River is planning to replace a 79-year-old bridge that crosses the Athabasca River in the hamlet of Smith. It was built by the U.S. Army during the Second World War as part of construction for the highway to Alaska. The new 2-lane replacement is expected to cost $75 million, which the municipal district can't afford. But the Alberta government is chipping in $2 million more in detailed design funding. That's on top of $1.6 million last year. The funding is one of 86 grants the province approved for transportation projects in small and rural communities. Clink was spoken loud and proud in Carcross, Yukon last week. The community's language camp took place at the Skookum Gym Camp. Students gathered for lessons taught by instructors from inland and coastal Tlingit communities. The CBC's Marissa Mayer was there.
It's not every day that you have a room filled with Tlingit speakers, but in this cabin-style building situated in the forest around Carcross, Tlingit was all that was spoken at this special camp. The language immersed students through lessons, activities, song, and dance. The camp was part of language revitalization efforts.
Tlingit has about, fewer than 10 people left who can speak it at a high level. So we're really trying to make sure we're increasing that number instead of watching it decrease.
Some say practice makes perfect, but that can be hard when learning a language with so few speakers.
There's so many words that are so similar, and it's all about tone. So just being around other fluent speakers, hearing how they say certain things, it greatly improves pronunciation, speech, fluency.
Elders, youth, and everybody in between were encouraged to participate. There was a particular emphasis on youth. They are seen as the future of the language.
We went probably 60, 70 years without any children speaking our language, out of self-defense and out of this violent colonization. But now you see a child talk and you think, I can do that too, and I can say something to them. And that helps you to forget and let go of a lot of that trauma.
Although the number of Tlingit speakers in Carcross has gone down in recent years, the number of Tlingit learners has increased. Instructors say camps like this are vital in language preservation. They also say that language revitalization is key to a thriving culture. Marissa Mayer, CBC News, Carcross.
Inuit are invited to learn traditional ways of living by attending weekly Learn To events in Nunavut parks. A range of activities are offered to teach traditional Inuit knowledge from the land. The weekly events take place in different parks across the territory. Kirsten Williams is an interpretation officer with Nunavut Parks. She says this is a good way to get people outside and to learn about the land.
I think it's important for stewardship culture and heritage, the wildlife, gaining more respect for the wildlife, the love for it, and just connecting with people in that way.
Nunavut Parks offers Learn To programs in other communities, including Kugaruk and Rankin Inlet. The workshops run throughout the summer. The skies above Yellowknife were busy this weekend with more than just the normal air traffic. The Royal Canadian Air Force was in town celebrating its 100th anniversary. On Saturday, the Snowbirds and the Skyhawks parachuting team put on a show in the skies, and we were there to catch all the action.
Today we're having our air display celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. 2017 was the last time we had an air display here. The actual last air show we had was 2016. The Snowbirds, once they land, are going to come out and sign autographs. The Skyhawks are going to land right in the crowd, so they'll be signing autographs as soon as they're done. As well, if you go walk around, you'll be able to see a number of JTFN, Joint Task Force North, headquarters demonstrations that are around. There's a bunch of Kitty Commando area and things for the families to see. There's a few food trucks down, so it's going to be a good afternoon.
Keep going, keep going. The Snowbirds are my favorite. I like the colors that come off of them, and they're really good for photos, so that's what I'm hoping for at this stage of the game.
I'm just excited to see the aerobatic maneuvers. Like, I love watching them go. My family, we've grown up around planes, so they're glider pilots, my parents are. My dad used to be in the military, so it's just always been close to us.
That's incredible. We've had an Air Force for 100 years. I'm sure over the decades the needs for it have really changed, and the people have changed, and it's incredible that an organization like that has lasted for so long. This such a great Canadian piece of heritage.
The preparation involves about 6 weeks of training, where we jump all day, every day for 6 weeks, really hone in our skills. And then while we're on the road, we do a practice show normally at every event, just to make sure that we're dialed in. At first, it's overwhelming. It's a lot of. It's like if you're driving down the highway, you stick your head out the window, kind of like wind rushing feeling, but with a little bit more sense of danger. I've spent a lot of my career in the military working with the Air Force, so it means a lot to me in particular. I love it.
We're pretty fortunate to be flying, a historic jet when it comes to our training system, and to be able to fly it in close formation and to bring it from coast to coast, and to go to northern locations like this is a real treat for us this summer. We do it so many times in the training season, so we're flying twice a day from November to April essentially. So you get very comfortable in your spot. So you're just looking at your references, you're looking at your nose wingtip line and making sure you're lined up on the boss's tail kind of thing. And it becomes very routine, very normal for the team.
The Canadian Armed Forces is proud to be part of Yellowknife, proud to be part of the community. We're very happy that the community welcomes us here, and our families really enjoy living in the north and in Yellowknife. The next scheduled one will be 2026, because we go every second year opposite the float fly-in. So next year will be the float fly-in, and hopefully 2026 we can get a full show up.
The skies in Yellowknife are not quite as clear today as they were for the air show yesterday. The air show was on Saturday. Some smoke rolled into the NWT capital today. There are no air quality advisories that have been issued for the city, but they have been issued elsewhere in the territory. Environment Canada is warning about poor air quality in a number of communities tonight. People in Fort Chipewyan, Kakiza, Fort Simpson, Jean Marie River, Hay River, Enterprise, Wrigley, and Kugluktuk are all being asked to be aware of increasing smoke in their communities. Environment Canada has also issued a number of heat warnings for the NWT. You can see how toasty it looks there. Most communities from Fort Smith all the way up to Tuktoyaktuk are seeing extreme heat. In the Delta and Sahtu regions, things will start to cool down tomorrow. But in the south of the territory, forecasts show temperatures going up as high as 36 degrees during the day and not falling much below 20 at night. This heat event is expected to last through the week. Let's take a look now at the forecast for tomorrow. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. We leave you tonight with more images from yesterday's air show in Yellowknife. Have a good night.
Was a great 9.
Mr. Critch, you need glasses. Glasses? No, I just think the chalk is just a little soft.
One of these days we're gonna have to grow up, but today is not that day.
I don't want us to get older either.
Son of a Critch. Watch free on CBC Gem.
So, you want to watch CBC News Explore, a new kind of news channel. Here's how to find us. We're on the CBC News app, on CBC Gem, and on your smart TV. Stream anytime, the is always free. CBC News Explore.
Sipping on a bit of Henny. Can I get a little Remy? Feeling heavy. Chilling, but I'm feeling ready. Pulled up in a big old Chevy. Dance floor stops and Miguel them drops. Queen with the locks and the crown on top. Feet in a box, never sound on pots. If it ain't the Henny, give me crown on rocks.
People dream of seeing the world, but I'm here to eat it. I genuinely love you. I'm here to show you the 12 dishes that define the city. Très bon, merci.